Wondering how you can become better at running your business? Entrepreneurship can be stressful. There's too much to do and not enough time. If you're isolated in your daily decisions, have no fear. Success and balance are possible. Welcome to the Small Business Answer Man podcast, where you master the art of running a successful business using practical advice from experts who want to help you succeed. Now, here's your host, Gary Wilbers.
Welcome. We're glad to have you again today for another great podcast. It's hard to believe, but this first quarter is starting to wrap up. But I told you we were going to concentrate on the first quarter of things you can do in your business that will make a lasting impact, not only for this year, but for years to come, because you get the compound effect when that happens. And today's guest is going to help us with that. And today I've got Natasha with us. Natasha, would you share with our listeners today, what problem will you help them solve for their business?
Of course. Thank you, Gary. So we are solving employee retention issues today.
Well, nobody has that problem, right? Well, you better stick around because I know everyone can handle this conversation. So Natasha Harris is an experienced accounting and tax professional. She knows how vital navigating finances and taxes are and has invested her career in helping families and small business owners navigate personal and business financial decisions so they can grow into all they've dreamed. Natasha Harris, it is great to have you on the podcast. Welcome.
Yes, thank you so much, Gary. It's great to be here. I know I haven't seen you in a while.
It has been a while, and it's great to see you. And I'm so excited because I saw this come across and I reached out to you because you just recently launched a book called Tax Strategies for Small Businesses with some other authors. And number one, I was just so proud of you of that. Can you share us a little bit about the book and how was that experience?
Oh my gosh, the book. It's almost the tax strategy Bible for small businesses. So as a small business, when you've got tax questions or you're just wanting some knowledge on this book is packed with over 200 years of tax strategy, information, and expertise for what you need in your business. So it's everything from S corps to nonprofit strategies to record reconciliation, cash flow, hiring your kids, the types of retirement plans. And my area of expertise in the book is the retirement planning and succession planning chapter. So you definitely want to take notes through this book.
That sounds so great. And I love that's a combination of multiple areas and it's concentrating. The other part is, my passion is small business, and I know yours is too, is that it's really meant for the small business owner and entrepreneur, isn't it?
Absolutely. That's exactly who it's for, because you've got the little guys in essence that kind of get overlooked, or they don't realize, hey, these are some things I should be doing and not just creating a job for myself, because that's what happens a lot of time, especially for me. So some of my niche is minority business owners and what that can look like, or what those avenues are for them to help bridge the gap of some discrepancies and disparities that are there.
Yeah. And it becomes so important because small businesses sometimes don't realize that part of their strategy needs to be is using the tax advantages in their favor. And I'm not saying cheat taxes, but
no, never.
The strategies that are there that the IRS legally gives us that you can put in motion. And most people don't know what those are.
They don't, because they don't have somebody to talk to about it, or have realized that only 5% of the IRS tax code is more so on penalties and interest and what not to do, whereas the other 95% is all the incentives for the business owners and the investors, because the government's job and mission is to create jobs and create housing. So if you fall in those brackets and you're doing that for them to help fulfill their vision, then, oh yeah, they're going to incentivize you and they're going to give you all kind of credits and breaks. So absolutely.
So I hope the listeners
something to have.
realize, I hope they realize real quick that they thought we were just going to talk tax strategies and they're worried about April 15th. And I joked that it's actually April 18th this year. But the thing is we're not. We're talking about ways that you can actually save dollars and do other things with it. And I think that would be really good here, if you don't mind, Natasha, is can you share with us some of the hardest challenge that you've had to overcome in your life and how you've overcome that?
Absolutely. So one of the, I'd say, to narrow it down to a specific one that was the hardest, because I've overcome a lot. Like 16 years ago, I was homeless with a newborn, and that was the third season of homelessness. So if I were to really narrow it down to the hardest one, it was actually my job transitions after being fired. Those were the toughest ones to overcome.
Yeah. But what did you end up taking away and what did you learn? Because now you're a business owner. I mean, how did you go? Because you got to tell us the rest of the story.
I know.
Hard to
It's
say.
like that. Yeah.
How
So
did you do
there's
that? Because you moved and now you're an author. I mean, and people have heard, okay, you were homeless, with a newborn. These job changes were when you were fired and let go, but now you're directing and can really putting your life where you want it to be.
absolutely. So yeah, there's a lot to unpack there, right? How much time do we got? Right, listeners, sit down with some popcorn for a second because it was a lot to overcome, and really, so my first time I got fired, it was more of a seasonal position that, like, I was, let's see, my very first job, I was 18, 19 years old, right? A sporting goods store. I was just there seasonally, but then after that, I went to work one day and they were like, "You're not on the schedule. You're not supposed to be here." So I'm like, what the heck am I supposed to do with this? So then I'm like, okay, now it put me on a hunt for another job, which meant I had to adjust my resume. I had to adjust this. So then it was also an internal battle because I thought I did something wrong.
Hmm.
Like, so then it was like, was I a good worker? Did I do my best while I was here? Because that's me and who I am. So then I moved to the next job, and then the next thing from that. So I wound up having to lose that one too because of a custody situation, right? But then as I started stepping back into school and pursuing my education and what I was most interested in, not just interested, but what I had a knack for and was naturally good at. And I think a lot of people overlook what they're naturally good at because they're seeking the dollar,
Yeah.
right? Because they've got the responsibilities and they're in this rut. But if I basically sat with myself for a second and was like, okay, who is Natasha? What does Natasha have to offer the world? And how do I offer it? Where am I lacking? Where do I need to make adjustments within my mindset behind it, within my skill set behind it? And what's in my toolbox, in essence, was what happened. So then the big firing came, and it was actually when I worked for Mid-America Wireless. So your company did it, Gary. No hard feelings, none whatsoever. But I did learn from that because I recognized I had the proper motivators within that position, right? So then businesses make changes. And I was able to opt into, some financial literacy that you had available to your employees. I was able to take a Franklin Covey program to better myself in those things. So as I started on that journey of making myself better, examining myself, adjusting my mindset, working on my skill set, I'm like, okay, where do I need to go from here? So then I started stepping into financial industries. But then I wound up getting fired again, thinking I had a career, right? No, that wasn't the case. So I got fired again after a near-death experience. I was bit by a recluse and was in the hospital type situation. So I'm like, okay, there's a point where I'm like, do people even care anymore about other people? Right? Because that
Right.
was that struggle. So yeah, once the first firing, did I do something wrong? Am I still a good employee? What? So from there, I had to navigate my resources appropriately. And I think there are some things that could have been set in place, right? That was a long time ago. That was over 13 years ago. But some things that would have helped me during that transition if somebody had told me better, so that I didn't do a lot of stumbling. It was a little smoother, because I understand there are 5 areas, or I should say stages of an employee within a business, right? You have the initial hire, you have the promotion available, you have the hours getting cut happen, you have the firing that happens, and then you also have the employee leave to better their circumstances. So employees leaving to better their circumstances is a different transition than the other 4.
Right.
Right. So cutting hours, that could be right, which falls in a lot of your employee retention issues, right? Because we're solving that today. So understanding those 5 key phases of what an employee goes through in your organization, and then what resources they might need during that time. So if you're cutting a full-time employee's hours to completely part-time, right, and they're in their 30s and they've got children, they would need maybe some budget coaching, not just the financial literacy program to go through one time, but somebody to talk to get that insight with it on how to navigate. Now my paycheck was this, now I'm expecting this, and I don't know when my hours are going to go up again.
Right.
Because every person, and like in my retirement planning and succession chapter, is on a path to build wealth for themselves and their family in their own way. So I think if we stepped back and looked at that holistically, it would definitely lower turnover rates.
Right. Well, and you talk about something I think so important for business owners and entrepreneurs to realize. And you talked about some of the courses we offered when I had the wireless business. Is part, I believe, your role as a business owner and entrepreneur is help make your people better when they're with you and develop them. Those financial courses, it may have been just the seed that we started, but hopefully that was a seed that now, as you've seen, you've blossomed to be able to take that. And everybody needs something different, but making it available to them, and it helps them change the course of where really what they can do. And I always told people is, they'll say, well, if I give them all this great training, they'll leave me and just go somewhere else. Well, which one would you rather have? Them leave you and go somewhere else after they've stayed with you a long time? Or would you instead rather them not develop themselves and you just get someone that's very average as an employee? You're making them better as you're moving through. Plus, it makes a difference in people's lives. And
It does. It absolutely does. And I don't think, from the small business owner standpoint, they think it's just so easy to get into business to make money. But the only way to make that money is to have those systems and people in place, right? You've got your execution, you've got marketing that has to happen, you've got systems and operations that have to happen. They get focused on sales and revenue, but they forget you've got people backing a lot of this so that you can just be the business owner. So if you're not pouring into the people because they're your number one, if all the people left your organization right now, do you know how to do every single job within that organization right now? Yes,
right.
you built it, but you got to hop on that bike again and pedal a little bit. You might fall, but no, there's no way to run that organization without people. And if you're not bettering your people, what are you doing?
Well, I love some of you are only listening to audio, but of course, we're on Zoom where we can see each other cutting this. And in the background, she's got make today the best day ever, and that's a mindset thing that you had. So one of the questions I had for you, Natasha, was kind of talk about what is one of the best or most worthwhile investments you ever made? And you can decide if it's, money, time, energy, whatever. But what's one of those best investments that you've ever made?
It would have to actually be in myself. taking the time to sit, right? So I invested time. I sat down, I just sit down with myself and ask some tough questions. Like what is Natasha's vision for herself? What is Natasha trying to achieve, right? So then I got bold enough and crazy enough to say, hey, I have a vision that I want to change the world so that the world is better stewards over their finances and resources. And resources are time and people. So that factors into it, because you manage your people, their people start getting better, their finances get better, the fun they start having in their life get better. And even if they leave you for a skill set, they might just love the culture you provided to come back around and be like, hey, where can I help you? I've got this going on, but I want to help again. So taking the time, asking myself those tough questions, and spending and investing in me. And that wasn't just like self-care stuff, mani-pedi type stuff. No, no, no. That was really developing some of the limiting belief, or knocking out the limiting beliefs that I've had, building up the truths that I needed to hold on to, and examining my past, and understanding that that didn't define who I am, because that may have been the circumstance then. Who I am now and who I'm still becoming and bettering myself to be has yet to come.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I tell you, I can see it. I can see the changes that you've made, and I'm so proud of you, of what you've done. But the biggest thing is the difference you're making in other people's lives, because you are changing generations now. Because I know with your finances, it's not about just getting the numbers. It's like you said, planning, investing, understanding that whole side of it. And that changes people's lives. And not only from your side of it, but for the people that you're working with and impacting each time. And I could see why you took the chapter on the tax strategies, to really get into the retirement planning and that side of it, because you can see from your speaking about it, you're really passionate about that.
Yeah, because I feel like it's the plan that everybody hates to do, but then at the same time, everybody has a plan, but they need to execute. Like, execution is key to any plan. So if I need to be like, hey, why didn't you get that done? Why are you still complaining about not saving $500 a month when you didn't execute what you said you were going to do a year ago? Now you've got the time factor, so you got to play catch up in those senses. And then especially in the small business world, a lot of them don't even have retirement savings or those type of investments set aside for when they transition to a new arena or purposeful mission, right? Because sometimes you have a start, sometimes that transitions, and then they don't set in place succession or who's going to take over the business. Do I want it taken over? Do I want my business to be left and continue to run and be global? Or do I want to sell it and move on? And I don't think they think about that from, having the end in mind to what it takes to build it to what it wants to be. Because every small business owner can be Amazon.
Right.
Or a Walmart or McDonald's even, you can be that big. And I highly suggest it.
Yeah, I know when I work with business owners, a lot of them think their pot of gold at the end of the rainbow is their business. And I always am concerned there, because I believe in diversification. You don't want to have all your eggs in one basket. And if that basket becomes rotten eggs, then there's nothing there. But instead being able to spread that out. And I think that's that succession planning. That's really thinking about your business and what do you need financially there, and, having investments and deciding what it is for you. Each business owner, it's different, but really knowing those. So I truly appreciate you sharing that. And then thinking about from the employee side, how can you help them? Because there's nothing greater than when you've made a difference and they come back to you 3, 5, 10 years or whatever from you and say, hey, you gave me this start about starting to do budgeting, and now we were able to buy a house or whatever it is. As a business owner, you take a lot of great pride in that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is, because I feel like there's more purpose there in the transformation that somebody can experience, even if it's a little thing like, hey, even as a business owner, if you say, hey, maybe I need to sit down and talk to Natasha and see what could be put in place for some of my employees, because not only do you need to diversify your retirement strategy, but you need to diversify within your business as well, as to what that could look like. Because even some of my struggles I recognized before I stepped out into entrepreneurship was the fact that if I had a boss versus a leader, I worked different. I collided real bad with bosses because of my leader, right? It wasn't as mature as it was years ago, but if somebody would have recognized that and been like, hey, I know this is where you're at right now, but I see this, to recognize, even just how to handle leaders when they're subordinates could be something managerial staff needs to recognize, to help with that employee retention, or understand it's not so much an intimidation or conflicting person. It's that they've got a quality that's clashing with your quality because it's matching your quality. So I think, yeah, there are just quite a few ways to look at it to have those planned systems in place, retirement succession, and execute.
Yeah, that becomes the key. And all businesses you have to execute. In small business, it's even more important because there's a smaller number of them, and you're reliant on each person to carry their weight to be able to make the business successful. Natasha, it's been a great conversation. I enjoy sharing that with him. I think you have a retention strategy book that you're willing to share with the audience. How would they access that?
Oh, so I've got a consult available, not so much a book. Yeah. So a consultation, they can text the word employee to 210-906-8222 to get that scheduled.
Okay. And we will have that in show notes too. So if you're driving or exercising or something right now, just go down on your app and you'll see all the information there, or go to smallbusinessanswerman.biz and we'll have all the details there. Check out Natasha's website. It's at Victory Finances, LLC.com. We'll have that link in there also for you to be able to get to all her great information. She's got a great website, so please check that out. A lot of great information there. And check out the book. I've got mine ordered, but it has not come in just yet because I just ordered it the other day. Kind of forgot about that. I was going to get it ordered. I told her I was going to order a copy and I kind of forgot about it. But it's Tax Strategies for Small Businesses. And there's 12 different authors. It's a lot of great information coming from 12 different perspectives. I love that concept that you did with the book. So congratulations on that.
Yeah, it's a great piece. And actually, if they'd like to order an autograph copy, they can text tax book to that same number and I'll get them sent an autograph copy.
Okay, cool. So we'll have all that in show notes for you. So please check that out. Now, before I let you go, Natasha, I ask every guest the same question. What's your best business advice or tip that you would give to small business owners and entrepreneurs?
Oh, that's a good question. So my best business tip or advice for our listeners and small business owners would be to just dare to be different and authentically you. It's okay. Like just do you and differently, and be brave and change the world. It's okay to seem crazy while you're doing it.
Well, that is great. That's great advice. And you see, she's talking from experience because Natasha has been doing that. She's going out there, putting herself out there, has been creating. She's making today the best day ever. And the key is make it fun as you do it. Too many times as business owners, we worry about all the stress and all the other things. Instead, go have fun while you're doing it. Make sure you check out our website at victoryfinancesllc.com. We'll have all of the information in show notes. And really, let's think about how we can work on our employee retention issues. We've talked about a little bit about that, but that becomes a real key because that's the key to your success of your business. So come back next week and we'll have another great guest on, and I look forward to sharing them with you. Make it a great day. We'll see you next week.
That's all the time we have for this week. To continue your journey, head over to smallbusinessanswerman.biz to access the tools and resources mentioned in today's show. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and share it with someone who would benefit from listening. That's smallbusinessanswerman.biz. Until next time, remember, when When you find the right solutions, your business grows, and you get your time back.